I am Lucas Reinhardt, and I had grown up believing that success was built on humility, integrity, and hard work, values my late father had instilled in me before his passing. But those virtues had little meaning in the house of my mother's brother, Uncle Victor, a man who measured worth by the price of your watch and the brand of your suit. After my father's death, my mother, Elise, moved back to Geneva to live temporarily near her wealthy brother. What was meant to be a short stay turned into years of quiet humiliation. Victor Reinhardt, CEO of Reinhardt Holdings, a luxury import-export firm, loved to remind me of his fortunate proximity to greatness. He would lean back in his leather chair at family dinners and smirk. "Lucas, if you ever want to be somebody, stop thinking like a schoolteacher's son and start thinking like a Reinhardt." Every gathering became a battlefield of comparisons. Victor's daughter, Sabrina, flaunted designer handbags while I worked part-time to pay my university fees. Victor would mock him in front of everyone. "Still driving that rusty Peugeot, Lucas? Some of us prefer engines that actually start in winter." The laughter around the table was polite, shallow, but it stung like acid. Elise stayed silent, afraid of losing the fragile connection with her brother's powerful circle. I, however, was quietly collecting something else: memories of every insult. In Geneva's elite circles, Victor Reinhardt was a philanthropic icon. He donated large sums to charities, hosted black tie events for children's hospitals, and loved posing for photographs beside donation checks as big as his ego. Magazines called him the banker with a heart. But I, who occasionally helped with logistics at my uncle's office during holidays, knew something wasn't right. I noticed that the Reinhardt Foundation for Global Education existed only on paper. Donations made by other wealthy donors were redirected into offshore accounts, cleverly disguised as administrative expenses. Victor wasn't a philanthropist. He was a thief wearing charity's halo. I tried to tell my mother, but she refused to believe it. "Lucas, please, he helped pay your tuition. Don't start trouble we can't afford." So I stayed quiet for now. But something in me hardened. I wasn't just a nephew anymore. I was an observer waiting for his moment. The humiliation peaked one winter evening during Victor's annual Christmas gala. It was a spectacle of crystal chandeliers, champagne towers, and self-congratulation. Victor stood on stage, delivering another speech about compassion and generosity. I sat in the corner, wearing my only black suit, the one I had worn to my father's funeral. Victor spotted me and called out from the podium, "Ah, my dear nephew, the scholar of modest means. Ladies and gentlemen, this young man could teach us all about humility, though perhaps not about ambition." The crowd laughed. I smiled faintly, masking the fury boiling beneath. Later that night, Sabrina stumbled into me near the bar and sneered. "Don't take it personally, cousin. You know how Dad is. He just likes successful people." I left without saying a word. Outside, snow fell gently on the cobblestone street as I whispered to myself, "You want ambition, Uncle Victor? I'll show you ambition." The idea came to me 6 months later, while working as a research assistant at a social innovation lab. I pitched a new concept, a charity innovation gala, an event celebrating authentic philanthropic projects in Europe, encouraging transparency and impact-driven giving. I built a professional team around the concept, reached out to journalists, NGOs, and digital creators, but behind the scenes, I had a deeper motive. I personally invited my uncle, selling it as an opportunity for Reinhardt Holdings to be the event's headline donor. Victor, addicted to publicity, couldn't resist. "Finally, Lucas, something useful from that idealistic brain of yours. Of course, we'll sponsor it. Send me the press details." What Victor didn't know was that every sponsorship document I sent him had been quietly mirrored to the event's accounting partner, exposing inconsistencies between the public pledges and the actual donations. From Reinhardt Holdings, I had created the perfect trap and the perfect stage. The Charity Innovation Gala took place at Geneva's Palais des Nations, the same building where Victor had once boasted about being honored by the UN for his humanitarian impact. Over 300 guests arrived. Socialites, journalists, investors, and even local officials. I looked calm in his tailored suit, greeting attendees with practiced charm. Victor arrived last, stepping out of his car, surrounded by photographers. He waved as if he were a celebrity, his silver cufflinks glinting under the camera flashes. The event began with applause, laughter, and Victor's predictable self-praise. He took the stage, holding a glass of champagne. "We, the Reinhardt family, believe in giving back. Our foundation has supported dozens of global projects." I watched from the front row, emotionless. When it was my turn to speak, I walked to the podium, thanked the audience, and began what would become the most viral speech Geneva had ever seen. "Tonight, we honor those who give not for recognition, but for real change," I began. "But we also recognize that generosity without transparency is just another performance." I clicked the remote. The large LED screen behind me flickered, then displayed the Reinhardt Foundation's financial documents. Gasps rippled through the room. Emails, transfer receipts, offshore account details, all showing how millions in charity funds had been redirected into Victor's personal accounts. I continued, his voice steady. "For years, my uncle Victor Reinhardt has presented himself as a humanitarian. In truth, he's stolen from the very causes he claims to serve. And tonight, every transaction you see has been verified by independent auditors." Victor stood up, face pale. "This is slander. This is an ambush." I turned to him calmly. "You're right, Uncle. It is an ambush, but not the kind you gave me all those years. This one's honest." Cameras flashed. Journalists recorded everything. Victor's wife fainted. Sabrina rushed to her father's side, whispering frantically. But it was over. Within hours, the story went live. Geneva's Philanthropist of the Year exposed for charity fraud. The Swiss authorities launched an investigation. Victor's assets were frozen. His company's board voted him out within days. Elise cried not out of guilt, but out of disbelief. "Lucas, how long have you known?" "Long enough, Mum, but I had to let him teach me how power works before I used it right." Within a year, my project, the Transparency Initiative, became one of Europe's most respected watchdog charities, promoting ethical giving. Victor, meanwhile, lived in quiet disgrace in a smaller villa outside Zurich, his name now a synonym for hypocrisy. Months later, I received an anonymous letter. Inside was a single line written in Victor's handwriting. "You've destroyed me." I folded the letter neatly and placed it in a drawer. I whispered to myself, "No, Uncle, I just revealed who you already were." As I walked to my balcony overlooking Lake Geneva, the city lights shimmered on the water, calm, reflective, and silent. I smiled softly. I hadn't just avenged my humiliation. I had reclaimed my dignity, my father's legacy, and his peace. And for the first time in years, I felt something genuine. Pride not for revenge, but for justice.
Thank you for being here. If you enjoyed this, go watch the one on the left and don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel for more tales of triumph over injustice and a saga of ultimate revenge.